All right, welcome to our Friday Flex.
Get in the shot, baby. Get in the
Yeah,
shot.
I'm in here.
You in there like
Flexing.
Flint, like Flint. In it like Flint. Flex.
All right, so so we're a little. We postponed the Flex today. I actually, it's kind of serendipitous, if I can say that. I don't know if that's the right choice of words, but just came back from a funeral. My wife's aunt passed away, so just came back from out of town, and as we do these, these four-part series of reflections on death, one of the greatest reminders about death is actually going to a funeral. I was thinking as I was in line, because you have your funeral procession, and it is at that time when people on the road are, understanding and they are respectful. Yeah, people stop and slow down, and you get to see that even though they don't know this person that has passed, the respect is still there. And I was like, wow, humanity still has some level of hope, and also some level of courtesy that we can at least depend on. And so while I was at the funeral today, I was hearing different perspectives of a person who I've come to know, 3 years ago. And only in a small capacity did I know this person, but you have people who were with this person for 70 years, 40 years, 30 years, and you were able to see these different grades of relationship and the different levels of impact that this person has made, that my wife's aunt has made in her life. And I was thinking that one of the most honorable things we can have in life is being remembered in a positive way. And so Ebony's father, who's the pastor of the church, was saying very nicely how anybody who doesn't think that their time is coming, or that their time will come, I should say, is unfortunate, and has what do you say? Has another thing coming. I'm sorry to bore you.
No comment.
But no, but he was saying in the sermon at the funeral today that this body here is a testament that we'll leave this vessel, because the person is still there, the body is still there.
All the various different elements that make up that body,
they're still there. And it's interesting, also from even from a scientific perspective, how.
Okay. All right, Eastside, give it to us.
Don't expect much. But from a scientific perspective, the scientists look at the body as made up of matter and chemicals, and just chemicals reacting with another, and then you have the body. You want to use some scientific word? I ain't got it. So you have the body, who which is just a whole bunch of protons, neutrons, atoms, cellular cells together. And what's happening is they're all interacting with each other. And so it's just simple as that. It's just chemicals acting with each other, and matter just mattering, and that's it. And so this aspect of individuality is not so much there in in the philosophy of the scientists who look at the body is just a whole bunch of chemicals just put together. Yeah. And when you think about it, that's it's kind of from a standpoint impersonal, in the sense that this same and I can imagine that this scientist who has all these degrees, when they die, they don't want to be understood by their colleagues as just a whole bag of chemicals that just just expired, or just the chemical to stop chemicaling. It's just that's how it happened. And so because we understand even from that level, yes, the body is made up of elements, and the elements are broken down into different divisions. And so, but there's more than just that. We can see that as I'm interacting with you, there's more than just chemicals. You don't look like a, what do you call it? A beaker. Just a biological beaker.
of
Okay, all right. Oh. All right, there we go.
a big hand.
There we go. These hands. But yeah, what I was saying is that, I can't say this is just a bag of, a fleshy bag of chemicals.
Right.
Because you're more than just a bag of chemicals. You are somebody.
I'm somebody.
And so one of the things that we see at a funeral, we see the body that was there, but there's no activity. Mm-hmm. There's no, as they say, life. Mm-hmm. There's no consciousness. Mm-hmm. And so as a someone who kind of pays attention, you can tell that there's something missing that's no longer there. Right. And various schools of spirituality explain what is there to different degrees of understanding. Mm-hmm. And so, but as I was sitting there, hearing, remembering, this great person that I've recently come to know, and understanding how much of an impact they made on, others' lives, it was very beautiful, because it reminded me, am I living life to my fullest potential? Am I impacting others to the highest degree possible? Because I don't want people to say, people just crying at my funeral, or just like, good riddance. I don't want that either, But her funeral is a celebration of life. Yes. And oftentimes, and even in some cultures, they throw a big party. Mm-hmm. Actually, Dia de los Muertos is a tradition in certain regions in which they celebrate life. They celebrate the dead, and they dress up, in colorful attire to remember the life of past family members. And so, as I was thinking about the celebration of life that I was fortunate enough to witness, it made me reflect. It made me become more introspective as to what am I doing, and to what degree am I impacting other people's lives, to an extent in which someone would miss the fact that I'm not here anymore, that I'm not able to share that wisdom in which they could depend on. Right. And one of the things that my wife's cousin mentioned is that their aunt was like one of the people you come to if you want to hear truthful words. Meaning she didn't hold it back her tongue. She was to the point. So but as I was sitting there, I thought about how, this is 80 plus years of life on this earth, I should say.
For
for her aunt. Yeah, 81, 82 years. And so to those who don't properly understand, time passes really quickly. You know, and so generally people, when they're faced with near-death experiences, you know, most of the time it's like, I'm not ready to go yet. I still got stuff I need to do. I need more time. And it's a reminder that these trivial things that we fight over in society, they don't really matter. Oh, you're this color. Oh, you're this political, you know, party.
Right.
You're this religious affiliation. You eat this food. You know, you're from this neighborhood. You didn't go to this school, you know. All these things.
Oh, you're from the east side, aren't you?
You know.
What we generally call bodily designations. I used to describe that as almost like a game of pin the tail on a donkey, right?
On the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, because we think that those labels and titles are the greatest things since sliced bread. You know, like, oh, look at this ribbon, look at that ribbon, or an award. Not that it has to be an award, but I'm just pointing out different labels and, you know, that we put on ourselves. But you can have all those labels, right? You know, you're your mom or a dad, or you're this or that. You have this much money, you don't have any money, or you went to this school, or you went to that school, you come from this city or that state. But if you're a mean, inconsiderate, disrespectful, you know, just a nasty person in the world, all of those so-called wonderful achievements that you've acquired, it's like it has zero significance. But if you have someone that is giving and generous and caring and loving and thoughtful, you know, and they're living their life with intention, meaning they are wanting to, in one sense, leave a legacy, not necessarily that has to be something monetary in value, but that they're leaving wisdom with the next generation or with those that are around them. They're really leaving a huge impact on the lives of others around them. Then when one thinks of that person, they think of all that they've accomplished. And then in one sense you could say, wow, this person really, you know, bent over backwards, you know, for not only us, but look at all of the lives that they've touched in this area, whether they're, you know, a doctor, or maybe they are, you know, a teacher, or maybe they, you know, whatever the profession is, they've done amazing things in this profession. Maybe they did amazing things in their community, you know, in their families, at their schools, you know, even if they are an alumni of a university, sometimes people give to their university in many different ways, or they're part of this organization or this nonprofit and so forth. Then those things start to matter in one sense, you know, because people think, wow, this is not some ordinary, you know, just regular person. I mean, this person really, really lived life like they understood the meaning of life, and they lived it to the fullest, and they touched people in so many different areas, you know. But as you're rightly pointing out, that we are just simply trying to appear to be one thing, meaning like important, but we're just simply just, like I mentioned before, just putting all these different labels on ourselves, thinking that it's of value, when actually, in one sense, it can sometimes be a distraction from getting to what is really truly important, which is the relationships that we have with each other. You know, getting back to family and friends and loved ones. Sounds like someone was knocking on heaven's door there. And so,
Too early.
you know, so sometimes, not sometimes, I found that every occasion, such as a funeral, really helps to bring things back into focus in terms of what's really important. I mean, again, not knocking the importance of getting an education, not knocking the importance of making progress in other areas in your life, but just pointing out that we shouldn't lose sight of what's really important, whether that's taking care of family, and having deep, meaningful relationships.
I remember I was listening to a class where there's a discussion on the different kinds of, there's IQ, which most people are familiar with. And then there's a couple new terms that I learned, EQ and SQ.
Oh.
And so very often
And there's GQ as well.
There's GQ.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's GQ. But IQ is measured by one's intelligence. And so if someone has a high IQ, then, in society they're looked at as oh, this person is very intelligent, therefore they must be of value to society. And then we often think that intelligence is the only factor in being a outstanding citizen. But then the other factor comes in EQ, which stands for emotional quotient.
Emotional quotient.
And it is how well a person is able to balance and to accurately use their emotions at the proper time. And how controlled a person's emotions are. And so I thought to myself, wow, I never would have imagined this was even a thing. But apparently, if a person is intelligent but acts like a jerk, or if a person is intelligent but flies off the handle so easily, or judges so rashly, or doesn't have the ability to show, this propensity to be understanding and passionate, what use is their intelligence, their high IQ? And so I said, wow. And then you have the SQ, which is spiritual quotient, and how well someone can balance their secular and non-secular lifestyle in such a way which enthuses and encourages others to also seek toward the path of divinity. And so, and when I heard this concept, I was mind blown, because often people are praised for the littlest things, sometimes even negligible things. I saw this video about someone doing all types of daredevil kind of stuff, and it's only for likes. It's only for reactions. I'm like, you're willing to lose this valuable form of life just for 1 million likes, 1 million views, 1 million followers, $1 million, $1 million, so to speak.
Yeah, you hear that even in the celebrity world. If someone is not in the spotlight, whether they're a musician or singer, artist of some sort, or even just in movies, and they seem to kind of disappear, and then all of a sudden you hear, oh, so-and-so just had sex with Ray J, or so-and-so just had sex with this person, and it just gets into the news, and now all of a sudden they're in the spotlight.
Right. I'm back. Admire me, hate me.
Right, and they did all that, like they degraded themselves for some likes that's just temporary. You know. So.
And it's sad because
Very sad.
we are in a society in which the media promotes us like, hey, you need to stand out. You need to be different. Which is nothing wrong with being different. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with being different. However, at the sake of our sanity, integrity, yes.
You ain't got it after that.
You ain't got our peace of mind.
Yeah.
And so we're pretty much, and I know this may sound harsh, but we're like prostituting ourselves.
Of course.
To the media, to what other people may think about it. Even if it's not the media, but even our people around us, we're willing, some of us, most of us, are willing to act out of character to gain attention. And oftentimes you hear how children that did not get enough attention in their childhood act out so that they can get attention. And it's like,
good point.
And you see this all over the place. And then you have take that a little farther, you have a person who's never really properly understood how to gain the right amount of attention. So they do things, they act in a way that gains them a negative amount of attention, and then they're dead, and then people are talking about, this guy or this girl here, like unsavory character, didn't even want to. And we all have family like this, but I was overhearing a conversation about, somebody's child was doing this and doing that, and the parent of this child didn't even really want to. They weren't even inclined to even speak about their child.
Really?
Yeah, because there was all these negative connotations, and of course, I didn't know anything, but I'm over here and I'm like, oh wow. And so we have this short period of time, but we don't learn these different types of subtleties of reality and how to actually be a kind, loving human being. And before we know it, TikTok, time's up.
Yeah. But what examples do we have in the world? I don't mean to sound, harsh, but, when I think of media, whether it's TV, radio, news, most things that are broadcasted are this just in, so-and-so has been robbed, or so-and-so has been murdered, or so-and-so, stabbed this person and fighting and arguing. We just see a lot of, I would call poor examples. And then when someone is an outstanding citizen, someone who does the right thing, then a lot of times they end up being martyred. When someone actually speaks up or speaks out against, certain behaviors, or when someone stands up for the rights of others, when someone, again, is using their voice, then a lot of times you see that they get martyred, or killed or silenced in some way, shape, or form. So it's like every time someone tries to be a good role model or show that for the youth and for others, in some way, shape, or form, they're always being silenced in one way or another. But one thing that I'll just very briefly mention, which hopefully it's not too sidetracked, is the fact that it's good that we have these conversations, because to remind each other and to encourage each other that if you're trying to be a good, outstanding person, you know, a good role model, whether you're trying to be a parent or a brother or a sister, you know, whatever role you play within society, that you are not alone in the fight, for lack of better words. That, you know, like we're here in the fight as well, you know, so one is not alone in that fight to try to change the world, you know, by, as we've been over a few months here, looking at the various different aspects that we've been discussing in neurolinguistic programming, you know, our road maps, our mental maps, and, you know, various different tools, acquiring different tools in terms of how to address and handle different things, and really working on personal development.
Yes, and you mentioned the idea of a martyr, and I'll tie this back into the reflections on death. Is that there's a saying that I may butcher it, but if you have nothing worth living for, then you're practically dead.
I can see that. Yeah.
And so quite often, those individuals in history who led lives in which ultimately got them assassinated by some government or some power that wanted to silence them. Those individuals were living a life in which uplifting others was their goal. And we lack individuals who have that kind of passion. So very easily we become silenced. We don't use our voice because we're afraid, hey, something may happen to me.
Yeah.
But those who are truly living, they don't care what happens to them as long as their life was served for others.
Right.
You think of anybody in society who is praised as being a hero to their culture, who did not incite harm to others, but desire protection, upliftment. Those individuals lived a life full of purpose, and and people were willing to die for those individuals because they understood that, hey, this person needs to be protected at all costs, because they are actually trying to do something with their life that causes others to change their life in effect.
Right.
And so as we operate, as we move in our day-to-day lives, we should think, do I have anything that is not connected to me, that's not family related, not, something that is not media, promoted, that inspires me that if I can't do this, then it's better to die, kind of lifestyle, kind of endeavor, kind of attention and focus. Do we have anything like that? And that really puts our values under a microscope.
Yes.
As to what am I doing that's really giving me life and giving others life also. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he was asking, what's in so many words, like, we talk about how this human life is so important. He said, why? Why is this life important in comparison to other species of beings on this planet that we share? We share this planet with. And I mentioned to him, I said that we have the greatest ability to help everyone.
Yes, that's true.
We can impact everything in a very positive way. But what are we doing right now? The opposite. We are the most destructive species that exists.
Yes, we saw the proof of that with the pandemic, when everyone was forced to stay at home. And then, for example, in Italy, you have the canals in Venice. And so when all the people were staying at home, the various different dolphins and otters were coming back into those areas. In other words, all the various different animals that were in certain places before there were an abundance of human beings, they just started coming right back into those places again, you know. So as human beings, yeah, we are very destructive in many ways.
And so as I was telling my friend this, I was explaining that we have a responsibility, obligation, one could say.
Confirmed.
And this obligation is one in which we need to protect our habitat as human beings. We're also we have a desire to live, and we have a desire to be healthy, to be self-preservation is the word I was looking for. We have the self-preserving nature of ours. And so when we are doing exactly the opposite with less intelligence or with no intelligence, it's necessary for individuals like ourselves or other beings of light or beings of compassion to say, hey, we're missing the mark. We are not properly utilizing this human form of life to its fullest potential. And you know, to your point, I remember that when the dolphins were coming back, and I was thinking, wow, that's so amazing. And the funny thing is, if this human species were to leave this planet, it'd be just fine. Like, it'll actually be even better. You know, and so if you know the aliens out there, they're like, hey, let's just eliminate this species. I get it. Of course, I don't want, you know, I don't want to be zapped, you know, or was it Men in Black, you know,
A little flashy thing.
a little flashy thing, but it's humbling because as we think we are so important on this planet, or even in this universe, that we think that we can just do whatever we want, act whatever way we feel fit. We have dominion. That means we can do whatever we want, however we like. And we see what's happening is because of our perverted understanding of our goal of life, the purpose of this realm, and the responsibility of being in this body, then we bring about a devastating effect on our natural habitat. And we seldom have these realizations, these aha moments until some species dies, some source of water becomes contaminated, Flint. You know, there's many other places where the water's no longer healthy to drink because of our consumption of animal flesh. They're now trying to create chickens or flesh in a little flask, or not flask,
like a little petri dish or
like a little
something?
petri dish, yeah.
Wow.
And they're going to start marketing this here shortly, because they can create a 10-pound or 1-pound portion of name the animal, and you can create it in the lab, because the consumption, the growth of these 7+ billion people on this planet, we are. If we can grow it in the laboratory, then we can try to stop from this ozone pollution and all these other things that the factory industry is causing. And so all these things we're doing to remedy our lack of understanding of the symbiotic nature we have with the earth, and how much we depend on the earth and the earth depends on us.
Right.
And our families depending on us. But if we're not really properly understanding IQ, EQ, and SQ, we don't got it. And so it is, but the reality of death, knowing that, hey, it's coming at any time, where will I be? How will I feel when it comes knocking? Did I live a life full of purpose? Was I thriving? Did I inspire others to lead a better life? Personally, selfishly, I want to. I want people to say, "Oh, if I never met him, my quality of life would not be to where it is today." That's a big order.
Yeah.
It's a big order. And so, but my goal is to transform not only just my heart, not just my mind, but the quality of life in other relationships. So that people can feel happier, less agitated, easily agitated. Because to give someone peace of mind, or help someone come to the point where they have peace of mind, that's a great gift.
Yeah.
That's a great gift. And so, being at the funeral today, I was very introspective. I was very introspective, because someday my daughter's going to be, my wife, may be trying to arrange mine. Who knows how soon that's going to be? I mean, of course, I would like to think based on this right here, it says, or whatever. My family lives to the 70s, so I got time.
Right.
80s, so we live long. 90s, I got plenty of time. But nobody knows really. And so this, so being introspective in that sense, where I see that, yes, I need to get my will taken care of. Because quite often, they said Prince didn't have a will, which is mind-boggling.
Really?
Prince did not have a will. And you think, Prince?
Right.
Of course, surely he would.
Right.
And there's another, I think it was a singer, a really famous singer, a Motown singer, also did not have a will. And we act like we're not going to die. It's like, no, prepare. Don't meditate on like, oh, any day now, it's about to happen, or, oh God, whatever. But just kind of be mindful. And so when I was at the church today, I was thinking, oh, maybe, who's next?
Mm.
What do you think about? Who's, look around, who's next? Is it me? Oh, that cough is a little rough, you know. Or you're the oldest, you're next. You know, nobody knows.
Right.
And so we start to think about these realities of life. And I was speaking to a friend Sunday, and you know, she's in her 70s, and I wasn't talking directly to her like, hey, TikTok, you know, I wasn't saying that, but I was saying that it's so odd that we have family members that pass away and then we're sober for that moment. As soon as we leave, we get some laughs in us and back to normal. Somebody dies. Oh, how could this happen? We leave the funeral home, more laughs, work, life hits us. Then somebody dies again, and then and then when you're in 40s, people start dying a little by little. 50s, they die more and more. 60s, even more. 70s, most of them dead. 80s, almost all of them dead. 90s, you're the last one left.
Yeah, that's the real situation.
And so you have, and it's one of those things where you look at the fragility of life and the temporary nature of life, and as we think that we have all this time, there are literally creatures that in our time spend a whole day on this planet, and they live their whole life, and that's it. You know, one day of glory. Animals have, you know, what do they say? Dogs have about 7 years, or you know, something like that. Well, 7 years equals 1 year, whatever. But they don't. Their lifespan is much shorter than most human beings. And as human beings, we think we have this long life, but no. Look at a tree. Look at the tortoise.
Yeah.
The tortoises will live 100, 200, 300 years, 500 years.
And there's trees like the bristlecone, you know, pine tree, and that can be 10,000, 12,000 years.
Sheesh. Wow. Never even thought about that. 12,000 years.
Just standing there.
Just standing there.
Just imagine what all that tree has seen and heard. And they've seen people come and go, like the seasons.
Like the seasons.
When you were speaking, I was just thinking in regards to the purpose of life and how, going back to attending a funeral or experiencing death of a loved one and family member and friends, how regarding that purpose of life, we should always ask, you know, what truly is the purpose of life? And what is the ultimate goal of this beautiful human form that we have? Because sometimes one can, well, it's not sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of us, we go throughout life, as you rightly point out, without much of a purpose. But to inquire about the spiritual side of things, because going back to your original example of how we see the body, and it's the same body that I've seen so many times when it was up and about talking to me and so on and so forth, but now it's lying still, flat, you know, in the casket, and it's not talking to me, but I know those very elements are still there. So, you know, what makes a living body different than a dead body? And to understand that there's the, you know, one may say consciousness. One may say consciousness. And we hear from self-realized individuals, or you can call them sages. A lot of them point out that consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Just like sunshine is the symptom of the sun. You know, how sometimes you may have an overcast day and you may not be able to see the sun, but you know that the sun rays are penetrating through the clouds. And so we know that, yes, although I cannot see the sun, I know the sun exists. And so in a similar fashion, although we may not be able to see the presence of the soul with our eyes, we know that the symptom of the soul, consciousness, through that the soul actually exists. And so then to even inquire about the purpose of the soul and so forth, you know, to even go deeper into that, and what to speak of, like what happens not only in the dying process, but then what happens even after. So those were things I was thinking about as you were speaking. Because a lot of times I know when I was growing up, we never really got much understanding. You know, we hear generally, oh, there may be heaven or there may be hell or something like that. But, you know, what specifically, I guess you can say, what is it that one does to get to a certain destination even after this present, you know, existence that we have? Meaning, you know, when we go with this body, you know, how does one make one's life successful in a way that they can go to a heavenly place, you know, and to not go to a hellish destination, you know.
And this, and we can, I think that point, we should dive deeper on next Friday, because there's a lot to talk about, to perspectives. You know, one of the things that came to mind is, as we talk about this concept of death, I go back to the conversation that happened 5,000 years ago on the battlefield between Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna was afraid that, you know, all these people he loved, you know, he was going to have to kill them, or they were going to die, whether he killed them or they just, you know, died in the process of war.
Right.
And so Krishna's explaining that, well, if you think that the body is just has one potential opportunity on this realm, then it's okay to kill them, because death happens. You know, anything that lives is going to die, and anything that's born, or anything that's born dies, and anything that dies, you know, transforms into something different, new form of life. So he was saying, even if you believe that, there's still no point. And then he said, as a warrior, according to the Vedic injunctions, that if you are fighting for, you know, for justice, then whether you die, you go to the heavenly realms, or like very high realms, attain a lot of happiness, or you stay here and you get to gloat in your victory. It says that's also another reality.
That's true.
And so, as we when we go into next week, we'll talk more about that. But yes, going back to the point that I mentioned in the beginning about the scientists, yes, the scientists are correct. Yes, these, from a physical standpoint, this body is made up of earth, water, fire, wind, and ether. And then you can break it down, give it its scientific names, you know, and you have different chemicals that are interacting with each other, the nervous system, you know, that sometimes the chemicals can interrupt and give some type of reaction or produce some type of result. Yes, this is happening on one level, but it goes deeper than that.
Right.
It goes much deeper than that. And so understanding that even if I don't really know what I'm good at, know that I have the ability to inspire others with my life. I have the ability to remind others, hey, wake up. This is not your home.
Right.
Can't stay here.
Can't stay here.
If you do, it's not for long. You know, so it's like, I remember, make sure we're good on time, because I think we kind of went in. Hold on. Let me. Sorry. I don't see them. Oh. It's right here.
I was hoping. I didn't.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much.
I was like, is it me past 104? I was like,
No.
I did not see no other apartment.
No, I was in a meeting. Sorry, it's okay.
You're fine. I was glad that was it, but I wasn't sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh,
I thought ahead of time.
look at you. Prepared.
So back to what I was saying. The human form of life, and us being able to utilize what our position and inspire others. Yes, that's what I was. Even if someone thinks that they may not have anything of value to offer others, understand that you do have something of value. You are valuable, and there's different ways we can inspire others in what we do. And ideally, we want to inspire a lot of people, because that inspiration will be contagious. And so, so we'll finish there. Again, thank you all so much. I know this particular topic on reflections on death are very humbling, are very eye-opening and uncomfortable to some, but it's a reality. And so, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Excuse any offenses or mistakes that I may have made during trying to share something of value, which I think is valuable, with you all. So thank you so much. And any parting words?
Until next time. Keep flexing.
All right, take care.